Couldn't we all just be a little bit more productive? Whether you feel like you've got a pretty good grasp on your days or your life's a complete mess, most of us could probably use a little sharpening up when it comes to mastering productivity. At the turn of the Industrial Revolution, productivity meant squeezing as much economic growth out of as few resources as possible. From agriculture to fashion to masonry and journalism, industries found ways to incorporate new technologies, machinery, and systems to increase profits and succeed in business. It was about doing more with less. And while the tools and systems have changed since the invention of the cotton gin in 1794, the basic concept still applies. But today, as millions of people are turning towards a freelance career, increased productivity doesn't just mean more profits for your employer. It could be more downtime with family, leisure activities, and time spent on passion projects. To feel productive is a beautiful thing. It's what you might call a good tire. The moment when you slide back from your desk at the end of the day, turn down your computer, or put down your pen, knowing that you gave everything you had to that day. You got shit done.
What I say is I focus on helping people become more capable.
That's Thomas Frank. You might know him from his popular YouTube channel or podcast.
And that encompasses productivity content, whether it be like getting down and dirty with the systems or talking more holistically about things like habits and mindset. Basically anything that kind of sets you up for being able to better achieve your goals in life.
What does it take to be truly productive today? From the small things we do to the larger systems we create, how can we make the most of our days? And what won't productivity get you? How can we find fulfillment in our work without turning into automated robots? That in a moment, but first, this video is sponsored by Squarespace. Every website I've built in the past 5 years has been with Squarespace. I'll talk more about why I love them at the end of this video and how I'm able to create simple and effective websites really fast. Is there like a tool or a hack or something that you do when it comes to productivity that has helped you the most or that's the most memorable for you?
Yeah, it's probably downloading information via a little port in the back of my head.
Did you get that at Staples?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Staples Experimental
Really?
Matrix Survey.
It's really good.
Yeah, so the biggest thing for me, I think, is not letting me be the deciding factor in what I get done, because I think the more freedom you have, the more self-discipline you require to actually take yourself off the path that leads to resistance. And even if you care a lot about the overall mission, you might not always care about the individual piece that you were working on. So sometimes it'll be, hey, keep me accountable, I'll say it to my girlfriend or to my best friend, like, I'm going to get this done by this date.
Is that the IKEA cabinet planner?
For research, you're disgusting. Or I'll use a tool like Beeminder, which will literally charge you money if you don't log habits, or if you do log habits, depending on how you set it up. Or even Habitic, I just check in my habits every single day, so I get that little streak counter going up. I use external systems to put training wheels on the teetering bike. Is my mind.
Yeah, we love talking about these, like, kind of the little things that we do, like the little tactics that might help us or give us a little bit of an advantage. But I know that recently you just created a course around how to develop productivity systems.
Yeah.
And that to me is really interesting, because that's just the entire system. It's the bird's eye view of how things are made in your life. Talk me through some of the most important aspects of it, from maybe a to-do list or task list to the calendar.
So overall philosophy here, what I consider the main missions of a productivity system to be are, number one, to make sure nothing ever slips through the cracks, to sort of give you that peace of mind that you know everything going on in your life. Because people, when they feel like everything is chaos, then that brings a lot of stress. Like, am I forgetting something right now? Can I relax right now? Or is there something that I should be doing? If you know everything's going on, then you have more control of your life. And then the other part of it is bringing in a little bit of that external control over your own self-discipline. So for me, the components are a to-do list, a calendar, and then a note-taking system of some sort. And there's a few meta ones, so I often bring in the way that you process email into this, and I also bring in the way that you store your files, both digitally and physically. What I usually say is like a good starting point is I really like Todoist. And I know you use To-Do, which is possibly even simpler. I like Todoist because, again, it's simple. You can sort of divide your life up into different little buckets. So I can have a project for, say, every class that I'm a student, or I can have a project for grocery shopping, I can have a project for like this UX design I'm working on. And that can all be separate, and I can sort of plan things out step by step within a little individualized list. But then you also have a day, like today, next 7 days, maybe even next 2 weeks list, so you can see at a glance everything in your life is coming up. Same thing with calendar, you see what's coming up in your life. And for me, the split is, are you going to it, or are you doing it at a specific time? Well, then it's a calendar event. Is it just due at a specific time, and you could work on it whenever? That's a to-do list or a task manager.
So if somebody feels like right now their life is completely disorganized and their productivity system is basically non-existent, what steps should they take to go about doing it? Like, what's the most important? Like, set up a to-do list, calendar. I mean, are there any of these that are the most important to follow along with, or does the whole system need to be intact?
I would never go as far as to say you need to get the entire system up and running right now, because that's overwhelming. Where is the biggest source of your stress coming from right now? Is it the fact that I really just don't know all that I have to do? Is it the fact that I keep missing events? Is it the fact that I do not know where my files are and I keep losing important documents? I keep not being able to turn homework in because I can't find it? What's the thing that's sort of screaming out, this needs to be fixed right now? Focus in on that, and then just work on building that part of the system first. Make a little bastion of safety, and then sort of spread out from there. And a good way to start is just bring up a document or grab a piece of paper and just write out everything that is stressing you out.
In our quest to increase productivity, there are things that will inevitably get in our way and steer us off track. From social media to video games, there are an endless amount of things that compete with our attention and beg us to procrastinate. We each pick our own poison when it comes to distractions, but one aspect of digital work that's impossible for most people to ignore is email.
Email is a source of stress because there are obligations. It's an evil hydra. You cut off one head to take its place. The one thing I tell people is if you're sitting with an inbox full of like 4,000 messages, that's the same as an inbox with 0 messages in it because you're going to look at it, get overwhelmed, and close it, right? So, take an hour, go through the first like 4 or 5 pages and star what you know you need to reply. Therefore, you're creating like a little second inbox for yourself, and then everything else just organize it.
Yeah, my friend Josh Milburn, he recently went on vacation and said, hey guys, during vacation I'm going to be going away, but then when I come back I'm going to declare email bankruptcy and then archive all of my emails. And I was like, that's brilliant. I never thought to do that.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, when you come back from a vacation, you have hundreds of emails, or depending on like how busy you are, what kind of work that you do, if you have even 50 emails to respond to, that could be an entire day, the first day that you get back to work.
Yep.
And if you set the precedent beforehand, if you let people know, hey, this is what's going to happen, if it's important enough, they'll email you back after you get back.
Yeah. Well, I think another thing that people have to realize is like people thrive on their expectations, and their expectations are set by previous behavior. So if you're the kind of person who everyone knows replies to an email like within a day, then now that pressure is on you. People expect a snappy response from you, and when they don't get it, you violate their expectations. And I think about this a lot. The violation of expectations is probably the thing that makes people angriest in the world because it is taking them out of order and throwing them into chaos in some way. It's a threat to the way they live. So if you can manage expectations by maybe being the person who just doesn't reply to every email and you don't reply super, super quickly, then no one cares, and that's a load off your plate mentally.
Once we've built a solid productivity system, implemented all the various ways we can incentivize ourselves to work, ignore distractions, and tame the beast of email, we still need to understand that there's a limit to what we can do. When we constantly seek to produce more work, to create more profit, it's easy to end up with less and less time. Sure, our hours are productive, but are we truly making enough time for ourselves and for our families? Paying the bills is great, but is our life defined solely by work, or are we finding the right balance for our physical and mental health? We were talking recently about some burnout that you faced. It's kind of the other side of productivity where it's like you can only be so productive, you can only get so much work done.
Yeah.
When do you know when to start taking some things off your plate?
I pushed myself past the burnout point for too long, and when I really knew that it was an issue was when my girlfriend said, I don't like how negatively you're talking about your work. Every time you say you want to make a video, it's more like, oh, I have to make a video, you're doing too much. And I realized, oh, yeah, if I'm projecting a negative sentiment about my mission in life, essentially, to the person I love the most, that's clearly a sign of burnout. So that's when I had to take it very seriously.
A lot of times I think we get into this habit of saying, if I make this decision, that's forever. That's my content forever. If I switch to one video this month and take a couple weeks off, then everything's going to fall apart.
Yeah, and the other thing is, once you hit upon something that works, it often seems like that's the only thing you can do forever, and if you stop doing that, you're dead, you're going to be in the gutter, your whole life will crumble around you, and everyone will point and laugh. And it's funny, like, if you give yourself just a little bit of space, what I found is the creativity starts to come back. All these things start flooding in once you give yourself space to breathe.
Should we shake hands?
I think so.
Cool. Thank you.